All right. It is Monday, February 24th, 2025, 3:30 p.m. My name is Kessie Ian Anderson, and welcome back for another edition of Heresiarch. In this edition, we are going to discuss electronic warfare. For this, I pre-recorded a bunch of Sabrina Wallace, and I took some NONVAXER420 off the Telegram channel, some audio from him. And we're going to play this, and I'm going to put in my 2 cents as we go along. Let's get started.
The X conversations. Yeah. It really is as simple as if we have the opportunity to put Lisa McGee, Maria Chrysler, and non-vaxxers, people who've been passing all the white papers to the rest of you, then maybe we can get a dialogue that is real. But remember, even if we can, we're up against the brick wall of electronic warfare and a network-centric warfare doctrine. The molecular communication that they have hijacked is our own biology.
All right, I'm pausing right there and jumping in. So everything she talks about, the overall umbrella, is electronic warfare. And I could be wrong. If this got back to her, if she saw this, she might even correct it and say, well, it's actually not that. But from what I'm understanding, it's electronic warfare in all forms. And what she talked about, let me back up the video here on this. So if you look at this graphic, I added this. This is electronic warfare. So you see this and you think, oh, nice. What am I looking at? Well, there's something it's targeting. Yeah, it's targeting other machines, machine to machine, but the end game is us. We are at the very end of every one of these little wavelengths that you got to understand. We are the end point of all of those wavelengths. So you have, look at the missile warnings, the SATCOM, space operations, PNT signals, ISR, SATCOM, commercial satellite, PNT signals, air operations. I mean, look at how many methods of electronic warfare they're using. And this isn't even counting all the PCs going on, the servers, the towers. You have the signals intelligence, SATCOM jammers. I mean, this is off of a military defense contractor website that I grabbed this graphic from. GPS-aided bombs. Geopositioning satellite. So just take a look at that and look at how diverse and multifaceted a term is vectors. Every one of these is a different vector in the game board attacking us. This is all electronic warfare. Now, Sabrina is going to take it a step further. Let's start again. Here we go.
Warfare and a network-centric warfare doctrine. The molecular communication that they have hijacked is our own biology. This is our central nervous system. This whole thing with surveillance under the skin has been going on for 30 years.
Okay, I'm jumping in again. So if you heard what she just said, surveillance under the skin. This I took off in vivo biosensing. Do you know what in vivo means? That's inside of your body. And if you look, it's a hydrogel matrix. So there is chemistry inside of us, nanoparticle lipids. If you know what I'm talking about, where they came from, mRNA, we are all infected with these biosensors inside of us. Now, these are not necessarily a weapon. I will argue, though, that they have had adverse effects on people. We're not meant to have this stuff inside of us. So some people, for that reason alone, could argue that these were a bioweapon just for the sake of them being inside of us. I watched a video on GEMS. It was about chemtrails and the nanotech and the chemtrails. And they're so nonchalant. I need to find the video about it. But the company that pushes it, they're just saying, oh, well, this stuff is so small when it hits your body, there's no way it stays inside of it. Really? Really? How many crevices and cracks and whatever is inside of our body that this stuff isn't getting lodged into, and they're saying, oh, it goes right through? No, I don't buy that for a minute. So the point is, this stuff is under our skin. It is inside of your body right now. I watched Doug and Stacy Homesteaders. I'll probably put a picture of them in here after this. And they're talking about the bees. They're beehives If you do not have heirloom bees now, if you don't know what I mean when I say heirloom bees, okay, do you know what an heirloom seed is? Heirloom seeds are seeds that you can take, and after a growing season, the plant that you're growing, the fruit, the vegetable, etc., whatever, you can grab the seed and you can plant it the next year and it will grow another. Well, the Judeo-corporate psychopaths have now gone so far as to remove that ability. So now farmers are forced to buy seeds every year. Those are not heirloom seeds. Those are GMO seeds, genetically modified organism seeds. For the honeybees now, they're doing the same thing. They're getting these honeybees vaccinated with mRNA. Now, to me, that's terrifying. Because can they survive? And then it's just another vector of attack on us for this electronic warfare so they can get biosensors in us. That's what I'm saying. So here we go. Let's back up just a little bit. And before we continue on there, I want to stop on this picture. That is the biofield. When I say the biofield, supposedly you can go anywhere from 6 to 8 feet around us. Now think about the idea of social distancing. And then there's a term called load balancing. So every one of us, see this? The little apple around you, when we're the core, we're the center. Well, that's a torsion field. And this biofield has been hacked. They can access it. They can do things to our bodies using it. That's what we're saying. And they've also figured out a way to store data inside of our DNA using 6G methods, Internet of Bio-Nano Thing methods. 7G is Internet of Bio-Nano Things, or 7G I should just say is Internet of Nano Things. 6G, I could be off on that, so I won't go too far down that one. I got to get my talking points down better. But, so these little sensors under our skin, they use this biofield around us. They've hacked it. She says, Sabrina, that this is a part of our body. And just because it's not physically on us, we think it doesn't. Some people just discount it and say, oh, it's an aura, it's woo-woo-foo-foo. No, it's legit. We actually all have a biofield. So when you think of social distancing, think of why they pushed social distancing on us. Perhaps they wanted to test the system. And if you go to Google and you type in COV, COV-BAN, COVBAN. So again, everybody who took the magic juice, they have an operating system inside of them, separate from everybody else. I think it's separate. I don't believe people who have not taken that magic juice, even though we have biosensors in us and we are still all attached to the cloud, I don't know if it's on the same degree as those who took the magic juice. But I know they want a control group. I know they wanted people un-magic juiced, just like they wanted people magic juiced so that they could test different vectors of attack when it comes to these biosensors being inside of us. So the biosensor itself is not a weapon. It's what can be done to us in totality is the weapon. And she says it's net-centric warfare. And that's where Space Force is. It's all Guardians, all cybersecurity protocols. And Sabrina was a network engineer. If you haven't listened to her, I encourage you all to go and listen to what she has to say. Now, she speaks in a high level of words. And we're going to go into that again later about the power of words and how you need to start defining and figuring out what they mean when they use certain words against us. So to continue.
Is our own biology. This is our central nervous system. This whole thing with surveillance under the skin has been going on for 30 years. And we still have a ton of young people who are in college for the biocyber interface, the variations of molecular communication for 10 years.
Okay, I'm jumping in again. Molecular communication. So these nanolipid particles are running around inside of us. This nanotechnology is running around inside of us. That can control cells. They are so tiny, they can trigger a reaction from one of these pieces, one of these nanotech lasers. They actually have lasers attached or can be used for optogenetics, and it can hit your cell. A single cell can be hit to cause a molecular reaction. So it's like when you learn, let's say you don't speak a foreign language, you need a translator. That's what they had to do, because you can't go directly from wireless directly into the human body. You had to have an intermediary that helps do that. But they've already cracked all those codes. Everything is done. And if you look at the book in her hand, Human Interaction, Emerging Technologies and Future Systems, there's a whole bunch of other books. That's number 5. There's a whole bunch of other books that go into all of this in detail, but it is insanely hard information to understand. And some people don't like the math. It's boring. Anyway, to continue.
Every single one of these people at any age, clearly the only thing they know how to do is lie about their jobs. The brute force aggression coming from the machine learning and AI world, with absolutely no consideration that you're playing with machine learning under people's skin, none. As if human bodies are nothing more than a walking hard drive or a commodity for you to play with for 30 years in Washington, D.C., biometrics on a phone. So this brick wall of gatekeeping, electronic warfare for 60 years with underground cyclotrons that are using torsion fields, toroidal fields, which is what your biofield is comprised of. Don't even try. Morphogenetic fields, regenerative medicine, life extension, Vermont, Harvard, Northeastern, Johns Hopkins. All of your academics are in all these conferences since 2016, 15, 2011, nano.gov for 30 years. So you no longer have any high ground to stand on. And as they mentioned on the X, those of us who are telling the truth, we're just commoners. Yeah, we're the ones who are rather pissed off that all of a sudden we're told the only way we get to go is human augmentation.
And she makes a very valid point. We have no power. The only thing we can do is spread this information as fast as possible amongst the peasant slave class, so that hopefully we can get enough of a following and enough people aware of what's going on. So all the words that she uses, if you aren't aware of the foundation building up to each and every one of those words that she uses, you might have a disbelief set in that what she's talking about is too big. It's not. It is not. This world is a massive game board. Whatever Antiquitech or whatever they've found and used, they have figured it out how to use it, and they're using it on us, the slave class. So everybody then jumps in and says, well, how do we do this? Well, how do we fight back? It's too big of an idea for you to be able to go from zero to all of a sudden come up with an idea how to fight back. On this, just keep going. Keep educating yourself. I recommend everybody find her videos on NONVAXER420 Rumble, and he posts everything. And we're going to get into his stuff later as well. So let's keep going.
Human 2.0.
The layers and levels. At the very bottom of the totem pole, you got your MDs, your doctors, who call it shedding. And then at the very top of the totem pole, you got your military and your telecommunications, who call it load balancing.
Okay, you hear when they play on words. Oh, the way they shut down some of the conspiracy theorists when the magic juice first came out, they're saying, oh, it's chips. Well, that's a word play. It's nanolipid particles. So they have the plausible deniability and say, well, you never said it was nanoparticles. So if you don't know, this is Sean, NONVAXER420. He's on Rumble. He's also on Telegram, NONVAXER420 Rumble Telegram. He possibly, besides Sabrina Wallace, he has this down more than anybody else. So find him on Rumble. Watch as many videos as you can. He is a machine. He posts day in and day out. But if you listen to what he says, they give us the wrong lexicon of words that lead us down stupid rabbit holes, and the patriots can make money on it. But then when you get to the real information, you sound like a lunatic. So he is telling you the game and how they're playing it. He's telling you in this little series of clips, these audio that I took off of the Telegram channel, he explains the words that they tell you to lie. Oh, but it's a half truth, so they kind of get away with it. But here we go. Let's back up again. Boop, boop, boop.
Human 2.0.
The layers and levels. At the very bottom of the totem pole, you got your MDs, your doctors who call it shedding. And then at the very top of the totem pole, you got your military and your telecommunications who call it load balancing.
Okay, so they tell you, oh, this magic juice, it sheds. That's what they use for the slave class, that we can keep infighting about what this thing actually is. Just keep giving them this. They reach into this bucket of the stupid bucket, and they throw stupid words and stupid phrases at all of us, and then we infight amongst ourselves about what's going on. Whereas the guys at the top who are in on it all, they're given the proper lexicon of words. So load balancing. Let's say you have a bucket. You have 5 buckets. 3 are 80% full. 2 of those buckets are only 10% full. And let's say you are holding another bucket that's about to overflow. What are you going to do with that? You have to spread it out accordingly inside of the other buckets. So you load balance the water. You put the water in buckets that aren't affected. Well, guess what? Those who have the magic juice, those are getting zapped and also being data thrown through them off the network because we're all hooked to the cloud. We're all hooked to the internet now. Well, if you aren't doing your share, if you aren't slowing the spread or whatever they call it, it has to use you. And then that's when you get not feeling so good, because they're load balancing. So if you have to think of this in digital terms. The second you flip the switch from analog to digital, it makes sense if you have an understanding of how digital works. So you got to do your own research. You got to start reading and defining terms so that you understand the game that's being played. You can't just listen to phrases. You just can't listen to people. I try to explain it, but I don't know if I give good enough analogies. So let's continue on.
Same thing, bottom of the totem pole, you got your MDs and you got your doctors who call it viruses, viral networks. And then at the top of your totem pole, you got your military and your telecommunications who call it nanoparticle networks, your viral nanoparticles. It's just nomenclature, shedding, it's nomenclature. It's really just load balancing. Bottom of the totem pole, you got your MDs and doctors.
So again, like you said, it's nomenclature. It's just what the culture has become accustomed to hearing, and the media is the masters that manipulated us and keep using those words on us. And then we keep believing the same thing, except for those who go to the source and get educated about this information. So here we go, continue.
It's really just load balancing. Bottom of the totem pole, you got your MDs and doctors who call it a vaccine. Top of the totem pole, you got your military who calls it every vaccine a bioweapon, a viable bioweapon. And then you go to the very top of the totem pole, which is your telecommunications, who calls it a biocyber interface. Bottom of the totem pole, you got your MDs and doctors who call it gene therapy. And then getting closer to the top of the totem pole, you go to your military, they straight out call it genetic engineering. And then you go to the very top, and they straight out call it genetic engineering, protein folding. They call it exactly what it actually is, right? So it's just nomenclature. That's the part that people need to get past, and they need to realize who's at the bottom of the totem pole and who's at the top of the totem pole. I would rather go directly to source, to the top of the totem pole, and learn from them than learn from the bottom of the totem pole where they use nomenclature and incorrect terminologies purposely in order to keep you confused. Bottom of the totem pole, the MDs and doctors call it spike protein. Go to the top of the totem pole, and it's nano self-replication. So, nanoparticulate self-replication. That would be the military and the telecommunications. It's just nomenclature. People keep hearing spike protein, spike protein. They don't even realize what they're actually talking about. They're talking about the nanoparticle self-replication. Bottom of the totem pole, the MDs and doctors. They call it synthetic DNA plasmids. Top of the totem pole, military and telecommunications. They straight out call it engineered cells. They use bacteria, E. coli, and phages. It's just nomenclature.
Bacteria,
so
E.
when
coli,
you're hearing
and
DNA,
phages.
synthetic DNA plasmids, What they're really saying is engineered cells. They've injected you with engineered synthetic cells.
They're synthetic,
And
so
those
you're
cells
patentable.
are merging with your cells, converging with your cells, and making your natural cells more and more synthetic as they continue to self-replicate and merge. Bottom of the totem pole, they call the engineered cells the spike proteins. Top of the totem pole, they call them the bio-nano machines. Bottom of the totem pole, they call it white fibrous blood clots. Top of the totem pole, they call it nanofiber, nanowires, self-replicating. Bottom of the totem pole in the truther community, they call it a bioweapon. Top of the totem pole in the truther community, they call it a biocyber interface, because that's what it actually is. Yeah, they get their scripts from what they're seeing on their feeds, because the artificial intelligence groups people up from their feeds, okay? And they're using the large language models that they build off of the language that you input into your feeds and other people input into their feeds. And then what they do is they regenerate that language, they put it in front of you on your feed, and that builds a large language model out in society, in the human. And this is why when you see certain people comment on, posts or videos or whatnot, you can tell who has done the reading and who has not done the reading by the language that they use in their commentary. And they all sound the same. The ones that have not done any research for themselves, the ones that just listen to the same language model that's being forced into their face, on their screens, on their feeds, all day, every day. And that's all they do, is they regurgitate that language. And you can tell by the certain people that comment, you can tell that they've never done a single bit of research in their life. All they do is they listen and they believe what everybody tells them, because they use the same fucking language. All of them do. The storm is coming. Trump's saving the kids. Trump's playing 5D chess. That is a large language model that they have built in the human by what they've put and programmed them with on their feeds, on their screens. That is literally, that's like turning the humans into the artificial intelligences now through that large language model. So it's not just us building a large language model for the AI, it's the AI running that data through algorithms, forcing it in front of us on our feeds, in turn building a large language model out in society, controlling the way that people speak out in society.
All right, I'm stopping that right there. He hit on, it's so nefarious. They're getting us every which way, and now the AI is compounding it. So my feeds are guaranteed different than what you're seeing, and what you're seeing is different than what your friend sees, and what your friend sees. So they're fracturing us. They're consensus cracking all over the place. So we got to figure out a way that we can bring people back in to the fold. So do your own research. This electronic warfare is real. You got to look up Sabrina as fast as possible and start watching her stuff on the NONVAXER420 Rumble channel. Now, again, I haven't verified my driver's license with YouTube, so I cannot post links. None of my links are allowed. So anyway, I can post them, but then they cut them off, and you have to basically guess to see what it can be. All right, well, that's all I'm going to do for today. Until next time.